Dragon Dreamers, Gina, Virginia, Casella here. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Please let me know if you can hear me. I'm going to put that in the chat right now. Let me know if you can hear me. All right. So I don't know if you can hear me. I hope you can. I hope you can see me. Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful day. If you're like me, the bright lights are just a little bit too bright for me lately. So here we go. I think that one's a bit better. I wanted to show you today my gemstones. So let me just tilt my monitor down. So I wanted to show you a closer look at them. And I feel like every time I use my gemstones, they connect with the audience a little bit more and more and more. And I have a little routine that I made. It's based on my dreams, half remembered, half misunderstood. And I'm fundraising money to transform my books, which I've got all here, into a movie series. And so I'm fundraising money the last Friday of each month. And so what can you anticipate? Well, I thought that's what this video would be about. So the way it's going to work is I'm going to hop on live the last Friday of every month. I've got a host, Alex Lipton, and I've got a monitor, Julia Anchorhaven, and I'm so thankful for that. I feel the luxury of having that support. Right now, I don't have anybody, it's just myself. And so when we go live the last Friday of the month, basically wait until we're live. I'll remind you what my Buy Me a Coffee information is, and you can make a donation. And then once it's confirmed that the money went through, I will be providing you with a mini gemstone reading. Not today. This is for the last Friday of the month. So the last Friday of the month, every month, 11 a.m. Eastern. And you know what? I like to start pretty prompt. So unless there's like a tech delay or something like that, there's no reason why I shouldn't be logged on at 11. And it's going to be important that we get started right away, because if nobody's donating, then I'm basically going to log off. So don't assume that I'm just going to be staying on there, right? So you want to make sure the last Friday of the month, mark your calendar, okay? If you look at my memberships and you wanted to book a private session with me and get all of the attention, that would be ideal. And if you just want a taste of the gemstone readings, it's a one-of-a-kind routine of my own making, and it's the coolest thing. And I never ever in a million years could have dreamed this, right? I never ever could have dreamed this. So there's so much to say about me, and there's a lot of new followers. A big welcome to you, and thank you for taking an interest in me. If you're like me, I'm looking for soul tribe. And so, well, soul tribe, what even is that? Well, you know, when you're in a room and um, there's all kinds of noise and talking going on, but then somebody whispers something from far away and you hear that, right? That's because that's your soul tribe. Like whatever they're talking about, that energy is in alignment with you, right? If you look to my right here, there's Rosie in the background. If you book a session with me, she gets locked out of the room, but stuff like this, she always hangs out. And usually in about an hour, she'll come in and start stepping all over my stuff. Those of you with cats, let me know how you relate in the comments. And speaking of that, let me know if you can hear me. I feel like people can hear me. Last time I was live, people couldn't hear me. So that's another reason why I'm asking for your support for the fluidity of all of this. So what am I going to do with all the money that's raised? Well, the money that's raised, I'm going to be creating a movie based on all of my dreams, half remembered, half misunderstood. I'll show you my books and how all of this goes together in a moment. And then I'm really going to delight in showing you each of my gemstones. Each one is an archetype. And over time, you'll start to get to know them. And it's just the most exciting thing, you know, because when I do these gemstone readings, I didn't realize it, but folks out there are getting to know my gemstones. Like when I refer to Polaris, people know what that means. Do you know who Polaris is? He's these two gemstones, the two purple horns. So people will ask me, like, tell me something from Polaris. And I'm like, oh, like, how did you know? I didn't realize you were paying attention like that. And so I think it's the coolest thing. And people ask me about the dog monkey folk. This gemstone here represents the dog monkey folk. It's heart-shaped rock. And I put how on the other side. I'm getting ahead of myself. I tend to do that. um, so the last Friday of every month, those of you who are just tuning in, this is me doing live hangout right now, which I hope to do more of. The last Friday of every month is going to be very, very special. Dreaming with Gemstone Gina monthly marathon. And you're going to have the opportunity to donate money. Please dig deep into those pockets to my Buy Me a Coffee. And when I get the notification, I will provide you with a gemstone reading. And the last Friday of the month, Dragon Dreamers, please make sure 11 a.m. Eastern time you are there. Okay, because if nobody's there, nobody's donating, well, then I'll just try again the next month. So you don't want to assume that, and don't walk away from your screen. Stay there because this is going to be flowing. All right. So what I want to show you how it all started. So basically, I had a spiritual experience. And when I say that, what I really mean is my life completely fell apart. It's a really long, shitty story. Who wants to hear about that, right? But I was really surprised and taken back this business of false inhibiting beliefs. And I didn't realize, I know it's important how you think and feel, but I really did not realize the degree of how important it is how you think and feel. It matters because every single thing that's going on in your life, whether you're paying attention or not, you are constantly having an emotional response to it. And so every single thought that you have, you can't, like the reptilian part of our brain for survival's sake is paying attention to things, whether we're conscious of it or not. Right? The animal part of our brain, the higher part of our brain, all the parts of our brain are in tune. So even when you're sleeping, your thinking doesn't stop. So all day long, if you have negative thoughts, when you're sleeping, those thoughts still continue on. And that's why it's dangerous. Ideas can be dangerous, thoughts can be dangerous because they transform into ailments and we literally make ourselves sick. And we're so powerful, we don't even know our own power. We have the power to heal ourselves. Now, any sickness, illness, when it gets to the point where you're on your deathbed, okay, that's going to be a lot more challenging to be dialing it back. So that's why it's important to take charge of your life and your alchemy. So my life was in survival mode, and I didn't realize just how much in survival mode it was. And what ended up happening was I ended up showing up in the world in ways that I didn't mean to. And I started to not be in right relationship with myself. I had a phenomenal career as a public school teacher with so many positive experiences in my life that ultimately stress had a way of adding up. I had a severe panic attack, have not been the same since. I totally faced the stigmas of mental health. So I'm very passionate about health and wellness. And I'm very passionate about sharing my story because I'm walking, talking proof. I'm not just somebody who heard of something and now I'm telling you about it. I actually lived and breathed it. And it's something that I'm still living and breathing. So I recently graduated from the Four Winds as an energy medicine practitioner. So have a look at my Buy Me a Coffee. I also do rapid transformational therapy, hypnotherapy. And it's through those processes and training that I learned, and it's scientifically researched, that, like I was saying earlier, those of you who are just tuning in, every single thought you have is followed by an emotional response. And that emotional response is followed by a chemical biological reaction in your body. And we call this the greater adhesion, cohesion of our day, the ebb and flow. And like I was saying earlier, when you're experiencing stress and irritability and you keep pushing things off, those things don't go away. They just accumulate. And what ends up happening, you end up falling apart, whether that means getting migraines all the time, or maybe you're gaining weight excessively, or maybe you're starting to stutter and you don't know why, brain fog. And what do? We beat ourselves up, right? So for what it's worth, if you have, like, if you're trying to do anything like lose weight, maybe you're trying to sleep, maybe you have like those darn zits, rashy skin that won't go away, I guarantee you have a blueprint. Okay. I know it's one thing to be lazy and not to, like, focus on your diet and commit, but I also know what it's like to commit and to put in the honest effort, and time ticks by, and people, they do get results, but those results are not lasting. They're very temporary. And weight loss is a classic example. And then what ends up happening? You end up gaining more weight. Like, how did this even happen, right? And what do? Again, you beat yourself up. You reinforce the false inhibiting belief that you're not good enough, that things aren't available to you, that there must be something wrong or different about you. Those are the three top false inhibiting beliefs. So it really doesn't matter if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to join a dance class and keep up with the choreography. Maybe you work at, you have a career and there's opportunity to get involved, and you just, you just can't seem to have the confidence to speak and share your ideas. And anything like that I can help you with, because it's seriously a matter of finding the blueprint, identifying it, and then we smash it and replace it. And I'm telling you, it's that simple. There is a 21-day integration period, and that's very important because our logical mind, the conscious part of us, demands a sequence. It demands beginning, a middle, an end. In truth, there's no such thing as beginning, middle, ends, right? So the subconscious mind, the 95% of you, kind of a big part of you, is in charge. The 5% of you, ooh, that's where things get interesting. The 5% of you, that little tiny percent, the biological one you are, the conscious mind, actually has quite a bit of power. And the smallest person really can make a difference. And your 95% is a program, and that program is set. So the 5% of you, with something like mind reprogramming, reprograms that 95%. So do not underestimate you can't think of the subconscious mind as this big 95 intimidating. No, 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 no. The 5% and the 95%, they work together. And something that's very interesting is the ontological imperative. I didn't realize this, but we actually require, I know this sounds weird, it's one of the rules of the mind, but your mind's number one job is to protect you. And that means lying to yourself to the point that you create false inhibiting beliefs that keep you stagnant and stuck, right? And you think, well, shit, that's bullshit. What is with these false inhibiting beliefs? What is with my mind? Why am I contradicting myself like that? Well, that's another rule of the mind. The mind can't hold to, so they cross each other out. Like, once you get familiar with the rules of the mind, you really start to understand how you can make change in your life. And you also start to understand how you do yourself a disservice time and time again. The biggest disservice that we can do to ourselves is beat ourselves up, right? So you know who you are if you're just being lazy and whatever. But I know that my audience, that's not who my audience represents. My audience are the type of people that like to take charge of their lives, and they're struggling. Well, why are you struggling? Because this stuff. So this is called awakening. If you've never heard of this before, it's called awakening. If you're already awakened and familiar with what I'm saying, the next step is for you to, book a session with me or do something to take charge of your life. And so, hi, missing time 420. I see you there in the chat. Jason, I think that's you. Let me know if you can hear me okay. So this here, 40 going on 14, when I was 14 years old, I really struggled to read and write when I was growing up. Why? Because, well, I didn't have the learning readiness, to be honest. And that's something I didn't even learn about until I became a teacher. Like, kids will get there, right? Give them a chance. So, okay, thanks, Jason. People can hear me. So I went to the special education classroom because I needed help, right? But in truth, I needed to see a counselor. I needed to talk to somebody about my feelings. Why? Because two angels came out of my wall when I was in grade 2 and it scared the daylights out of me. So this is the ontological imperative. So what did my mind do? My mind protected me in that moment and told me, "Oh, that's two angels." Those were not angels. I didn't make that connection until my late 30s, right? In this business, Angel ET. You tell me, but the first time I made that connection, Angel ET, that made me feel uncomfortable. Whether like I have absolutely no fear of spirit. I used to be terrified because of this experience when I was in grade 2. But like, and before that, it's worth mentioning, I've had all kinds of spiritual experiences before that. But something coming out of the wall, that's the ontological imperative. That does not make sense, right? I always use this example. Like if you were hanging out at the beach and all of a sudden, you were appreciating nature and you notice a tree and all of a sudden the tree, uprooted itself and waved to you and walked away. Like, I mean, that sounds cool, but I mean, you got to admit that would be really scary, right? And the thing is, I have a belief after all of these dreams that this co-dream that we share, because we're co-dreaming this world into being, that the rules, if you will, are getting broken. It's part of our alchemy. So um, trees do walk. They're not supposed to be because they're supposed to be rooted in the ground, right? That's the agreement. The grass, the flowers, they stay rooted in the ground. That's how it works. But it's not working like that anymore. And you know what? This kind of business has been going on for years, centuries. And some folks call this forbidden knowledge. Some folks call it um, full disclosure. I was calling it disclosure at one point, but now I just call it life, right? This is life. The full disclosure, I'm not waiting for any politician to make a statement. And honestly, like if there was an ET or a Bigfoot or a, you know, pigman or tree man that was like, yeah, I'm going to show my face and, tell everybody all about me. I advocate absolutely against that. That is not safe. That is not safe, right? Right? I'm a huge fan of Bigfoot. I I remember, like a lot of folks out there thinking, what if I actually discovered Bigfoot? Like if I actually got a picture, you know, or accidentally ran Bigfoot over and I had like a body. Um, the first thought is, wow, I'm going to be so popular, right? And it's going to be so cool because now we're going to learn all about Bigfoot. And as I got older, I started to think to myself, like, actually, I don't want to run into Bigfoot because Bigfoot is like a wild animal and Bigfoot is a special um, species because it's intelligent like us. And I just feel like because the things that we're afraid of, we tend to shoo them away into the high mountains and places that are cold. And, so I feel like those places are the safe places where Bigfoot go. Not just Bigfoot, but folks alike who are not mainstream, if you will. And I do believe that there's a lot of indigenous territory where, sure, there's a lot of truth about what they're saying, but there's also a lot of phony stories going on for the sake of protecting Bigfoot. So some secrets are safe for keeping. Some secrets are worth keeping. And when it comes to lying, you know what? Nobody wants to be known as a liar. But I feel like if we're going to be protecting species, then we do need to tell lies. And part of that lying is making space for the truth to come out. And I'm a very strong believer that the truth has nothing to hide. In fact, the truth is always in plain sight. But remember what I said, your mind's number one job is to protect you. So, you know, I was camping a few years ago with some friends, and you know what, we're hanging around the campfire, and one of my friends was hosting, and he had other friends at the park. So different circles of friends were coming together at the fire. And the next day, me and this guy are talking, we're catching up on the night before. It was a good time, people chatting, music's playing, laughing. But he told me, he said, he tried to brush it off. And I was like, no, tell me, like you were going to tell me, right? And he's like, I don't want to sound like a loser, right? And I'm like, just tell me. And he's like, well, I'm pretty sure the people who were sitting across from me were like laughing at me. And I said to him, then they probably were. Because your mind's number one job is to protect you. So in that moment, when this guy noticed these people across laughing at him, like not with him, but like literally laughing at him, they're laughing at his glasses. I told him, I said, you're right. Like you're intelligent, right? We're all intelligent. You noticed that. And your mind immediately was like, this is bullshit. These people are talking about me, making fun of me in this open situation. Like people were drinking. Clearly they were overconfident. So what do? You lie to yourself in that moment. No, 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 no. Those people, sure, they're just, looking in my direction when they're laughing like that. No. Don't dismiss yourself, because every single thought you have is followed by an emotional response, and that emotional response is followed by a chemical reaction. The mind requires sequence, right? So the subconscious mind doesn't understand beginning, middle, ends. The subconscious mind doesn't understand 1981, 1984. So that's where mind reprogramming and energy medicine play a very powerful and vital role, because it suspends time and space, if you will, and it opens up that Akashic record, that blueprint. And it's like your whole entire life is just like squashed in this ball. And that's the ocean, if you will, that the subconscious mind works with. But when the conscious mind needs to investigate, like Eagle Condor, this is Eagle Condor medicine. Eagle Condor is all about rising above, and that's focusing on the bigger themes, right? Not the details. Well, the thing is, Eagle Condor needs to put his glasses on every now and then and take that ball and spread it out into a line where it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and look at the finer details of the plot. And those finer details are powerful with hypnosis, because that's where we find the blueprint. So for example, going back to weight loss, I use weight loss and fear of flying a lot because they're just easy to fall back on. But folks typically talk to me about a lot more serious trauma, violation stories, super soldier program stories, all kinds of stories where people just straight up don't feel safe. A lot of folks out there feel scared, and a lot of it is rooted in early childhood, being around birds and dogs and animals, because the child doesn't understand that they're loud and their body is bobbly and wobbly, and that's scary to a bunch of wild ducks and geese, and that's why they all fly away when the small child goes running to them. But a lot of children, that's very scary. Oh my God, there's a bunch of birds flying around me, and what are the adults doing? They're laughing. They're reinforcing that your misery is funny and entertaining. And so I wanted to let you know that when you book a session with me, you don't relive all of the trauma, and we don't stay in those regression scenes long. We get in, we get out, and I fully anticipate your mind protecting you. So all of these happy, beautiful stories that you tell me, okay, more happy, beautiful stories. Thank you. I regress you 3 times, and typically this happens like 99.9% of the time. All I get are beautiful, happy stories, and that's a very strong indicator that your mind's protecting you and that you have something that you are desperately hiding. So I don't fuck around. You get your 3 tries, And it's not a strike three thing. I don't do strike one, strike two, strike three. Even as a teacher, I was very in opposition of this strike three business, because then it's like strike one. Oh, now you have two more tries to like screw up. No, you should always be working towards your personal best, right? Anyways, rant over. But I do it 3 times because that's the research behind it. You try 3 times, that's the indicator. And then I visit the inner child, and the inner child reports out. And it's the most beautiful thing, connecting with the inner child. The inner child thinks you are such a superstar celebrity, and all of us feel like these big losers. It's quite intimidating to face the inner child. So I want to reassure you that you are pure fucking gold to the inner child, and all the hopes and dreams that the inner child, like, think about it. Think about that little one that you were, you know, doing whatever it was you were doing. It's so, like, what would you tell yourself? What would the child you tell you? And we do take time to, not a lot of time, but we do take the time to, like, remember, like, what makes you happy. Is there a toy or something that you can show me? And a lot of times it's toys and symbols that I don't know what they mean, but the client knows what it means, right? And it's just a beautiful process. So I had no idea um, how all of this came together. Those of you who are just tuning in, I'm just hanging out right now, chatting with you. And I want to let you know that each and every single present moment, it's like that tick, tick, tick on a clock, right? And it pushes, pushes, pushes. And depending on what's going on in our life, like, I just had a really amazing bath. Before this, I had a nice big bath bomb that I got for Christmas. It was vegan, and I tested it out. It was like so awesome. I could stay in that present moment for a long time, right? But when things are really shitty in my life, I can't fast forward the present moment. It's an illusion when time feels like it's slipping by or when it's slowing down. And so you can take charge of the present moment. You really can. Okay? You really can. And um, I don't like to pay attention to the research, but what I do just so happens to have research to back it up. So I find that to be very powerful, and it's part of my own synchronicity. So the names that I drop: Alberto Villoldo, because he's the guy who runs the Four Winds. He spent quite some time with Andean shamans. So the Andean medicine wheel is what I'm familiar with. So when you hear me talking about Eagle Condor, that's where that language is coming from. And I also drop Marissa Peer's name a lot because she's the one who trained me in rapid transformational therapy, hypnotherapy, which is an invention of her own creation. It's a standalone modality. And drop my name if you sign up to be an RTT practitioner, because Marissa Peer tends to offer a discount for you if you drop my name. And it's no problem for her to connect with me that, yep, I recommended you. So please do that. I recommend everybody takes it just for your own benefit. Okay, so anyways, there I am in my life going through my shitty time, right? And I was doing journaling and meditation, and I started meeting with this meditation group. I started really buckling down with this, making it part of my lifestyle. Um, I was at a point in my life where I ended up going on leave, and I never returned to work. And I faced the stigmas of mental health, and there's a lot to be said about that. So when I was 39 years old, like, I literally just turned 40, and I transitioned from being a teacher, and I was a hypnotherapist, and I was going to teach full time, do hypnotherapy on the side. And my whole life fell apart. So the blessing that came from that was, there I was, age 40, and it led me back to spirit. And when I was 14 years old, um, that's when I started getting into tarot cards. So there's much to be said because I went to the special education classroom when I was a kid. I really struggled to learn how to read and write. And it's important for me to let you know that because I graduated high school with a bunch of C's and D's. Nobody expected me to graduate with an honors degree in English literature and then later on to pursue a second degree in education. And like I said, become a hypnotherapist, an energy medicine practitioner. I also went on all kinds of amazing adventures. I taught English in South Korea for 2 years. Like, who was expecting that from me, right? Well, that's because this dragon dreamer kept dreaming, right? So you dare to dream your fucking dreams. You dare. I double dare you to dream your dreams. And you need to dream lots of dreams because a lot of dreams don't work out. And you need to keep up your alchemy and your dream journaling because that's how you stay on top of things. Everything is not perfect the first time you think about it. Things alchemize, right? Um, so I had all these journals, and then my body, because of the severe panic attack, really escalated with its sensitivity. And even now, like this light, honestly, it's just too bright. And in the sun, I have extra dark sunglasses um, that I need to be mindful I don't wear when I'm driving because they're a bit too dark. So, so when I was 14, um, I was really just starting to read independently. I remember being in grade 4 and finally, like, I could read and understand, but it really wasn't until like grade 9, 10, where I was like, okay, I'm like reading, but I can tell that I'm like not at the level of my peers. And I felt very uncomfortable about that. And so one of my friends, the girl who lived across the street, she was into R.L. Stine. I could not handle R.L. Stine. I can now, but at the time, forget it, right? And I'm known as somebody who does not watch scary movies because of an incident that happened when I was in grade 2. So we've come a long way, let's just put it that way. But the girl would spend a long time in the bookstore, and we would go with her. Her parents would give her money to buy a book. And I didn't know what to do with myself, right? Like, who am I kidding? And I found myself in the self-help section learning about folks like Doreen Virtue. And I ended up getting this beginner's tarot set. I don't know what it was called, but it came with tarot cards, with ruins, and it just seemed like so magical. And I didn't really know what to do with the ruins, but I understood like it's really encouraging because it was about self-help, and it was the first time that I really could talk to somebody, and it wasn't to somebody, it was a book, but it wasn't a book. It was like baseball cards, and those baseball cards weren't baseball cards, they were called tarot cards. And so I was 14 years old and finally feeling connected. But I come from one of those families that when you're 15, the expectation is that you're working, and when you're 18, you move out, and that's a very positive thing. Unless you're going to school, then you know you're going to school, and that's why you're still living at home, right? Folks do things on the young side in my family. So when I was 14, I felt like finally I'm connecting and whatnot. But I had to put my resume together. I found a job. It was very positive, but basically I entered the work world. By the time I was in grade 10, I was working 40 hours in the summer. And, I wouldn't have it any other way because it gave me independence, it gave me money. I lived at home at that time, but really, like, looking back, that was too much work for youth, in my opinion. Hi, D seventh son. Good to have you joining us. So 40 going on 14 is in honor of that time period. So it's like, there I am, 40 years old, severe panic attack, and I can go back instead of like 40 turning 41, switching the 41 to 14 brought me back to age 14, Gina, where I picked up tarot cards. And I'm a huge fan of Ted Andrews and Teal Swan. They got me through some really tough times. Like I said, I don't like to drop a lot of names, but I do like to share my own personal experience and what worked for me. So I was writing in a journal, and I would wake up at like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I would have all these negative thoughts, and I would toss and turn and have like super, super shitty sleep. And then one morning I just thought, why don't I, wake up, get the meditation music going, light the candles, light the incense. And it was like the spirit guides were there with me, and the energy was high. So I'm very passionate that the contracts that we have are not set in stone. And I remember at that time thinking and feeling like, oh my God, I must have been a really, really bad, evil person in a past life to keep like struggling in this life. And you know what? Even despite, like, if you read this book, I have a really terrible history. I'm quite the tyrant. Um, but like, that's why alchemy is important. And this business of contracts, free will, and manipulation, very, very passionate about that. So 40 going on 14 was book one. Right now, in my Buy Me a Coffee, I'm taking every day, the next 8 days, just to highlight my books. This one is called Gaining Ground, and they're all very heartfelt stories. It talks about me, but very quickly you'll see that basically the book's about you too. This one is called Losing Ground. So this was all based on my dream journals. This one is book four, The Gnome King. I was having dreams about this guy. He's like some kind of primordial grandfather figure. And there he is playing with sticks and stones, and I hang out with him in my dreams. And then I found these gemstones at the beach that summer. I wasn't even thinking of him. Um, so there's much to be said. This one's Sacred Phoenix Heart. So the content, it's all like about me, and then it's special messages, but then it's about all of us. And then it starts to get into like the ET agenda and things like soul transmigration. And honestly, my own content makes me very uncomfortable. This one is called Revered and Feared. So I actually thought that I was going to die. This one is called An Elephant's Anthem of Liberation. I feel like I died a handful of times. It was really bad. I was in excruciating pain, like muscle spasms. Well, this felt like bone spasms. And psychologist and doctor told me in a nice way that it was in my head. Well, wow, I've never been one to tell lies. Like I said, I faced the stigmas of mental health. Okay. So putting the frustration of that to the side, I was able to move on. This one is called Scary Dreams. And I was really inspired by Eckhart Tolle because I I was inspired by him in this business of the present moment, because that's what I'm all about, right? Because each and every single pressing moment can be so pressing because it determines the next present moment. So if you're wondering what like the next moment's going to look by, it's going to be very much like this one, right? So how are you going to change that? Change this moment, change the patterns. So somewhere when I was listening to Eckhart Tolle, he said that um, he felt like he was going to die, and if there's one thing he needed to do was publish his book. Otherwise, he would have felt unsettled. And I feel that same way about my book series. Like um, I felt like I was dying, and I was literally reading over my dream journals, mumbling. I have a headset with a microphone, and I was mumbling into the microphone. And then I was cutting and pasting that into the rewriter, trying to make sense of it. And so um, it gives me great honor that these books are available to you. And um, because I just wasn't well, I don't like to admit how unwell I was, but because I was not well, it just became too much writing. I was loving my dream journaling routine, but it was too much writing. I'm going to put this down here. I know you can't see my face, but my spirit guides, if you will, they said, you know what, why don't you stop writing so much? Um, Read over your information because you're repeating a lot of it, right? And start making pictures instead. So I started, because every time I do a dream journal, I just can't see if you can see these. Every time I do a dream journal, I would decorate the page. So there we go. Tilt it forward a little bit. Every time I do a dream journal, I decorate the page. Sometimes I draw like a beautiful picture. Sometimes I just put stars all over it. Whatever I do something, right? And then my guides were like I said, I was a huge fan of Teal Swan, and I was using her frequency cards and her oracle. And um, my guides were like, I started buying, there was a sale. So I bought a bunch of other tarot cards. I won't say the names of the authors, but I really was not impressed because it looked like they basically just looked up dictionary definitions, slapped it on a card, created a deck and called it an oracle deck. I don't think so. And then the rider deck is very interesting because the rider deck is very short, the information. And then some people who are republishing their own versions of the rider deck, I find it interesting. But again, it's like, where's this information coming from? It just kind of, I feel a lot of it is um, people summarizing other people's ideas. But, anyways, there was a push from my deep inner self to start creating my own tarot cards, my own oracle. And I thought, well, I'm not good enough for that. I can't create an oracle deck, but you know what? This is what happened. And in truth, that's how the books came about. Because I thought, well, I'm going to start talking about like my pictures and trying to summarize the information. And it was too much. It was too much. So these are the Dragon Dreams Oracle. They will be available any day, and I'll be sure to let you know that link on Buy Me a Coffee. There's some blank pages in here. I don't know if anybody's ever published Oracle before, but I intentionally left some pages blank. Here they are. This is the unedited. I left some pages blank, 9 of them, intentionally, so that you can, create your own oracles. And if you wanted to have your own like special 9 cards or mix and match them with mine or trade them with others, I thought that was cool. But the publisher interpreted this as my deck being incomplete. So today I went on Canva and I just made a special picture on there. It's got a gold rectangle on the top, a gold rectangle on the bottom, and then there's like a white vertical rectangle in the middle so that you can draw your pictures on there. And the middle of the vertical rectangle has one of my special stamps on it, Sacred Stain. So I'm just trying to find a clearer card here. Here's one. So every single card has a stamp on it of my Sacred Stain. And the card with the dog monkey folk, this one right here, where did it go? These are so nice and smooth. I don't know if anybody saw the originals, but they were cue cards that I laminated. I laminated them just in the summertime because they were starting to get dirty. And but before I laminated them, I took every single card and I stamped it with my tampon, with my period blood. I thought maybe that would be one of my last periods. It was nice and heavy. So my energy is on there. And anyways, it's just nice to hold these because it's not all pokey like the laminated ones. But what I did for the ones that are blank is I took this image and I jumbo sized it so you can't see it. And then I just flipped. So those of you who order a deck, it's going to be a blank card with the gold rectangle on the top so you can number it. and give it a name and a gold rectangle on the bottom. So you could put a few words or a sentence to describe the card. And then there's that sacred stain stamp in the middle, and you draw your picture over top. So I never ever thought in a million years I would do anything like this, right? I never thought in a million years I'd do anything like this. It's just the coolest thing. And there's a booklet that comes with it. And like I said, as soon as I get the link to order it, you can order it. So the Dragon Dreams Oracle goes hand in hand with the books. And I also, they go with the gemstones. So it's all interconnected. And I'm making a movie, like I mentioned, based on all of this, which is about you too, and our greater oneness. And this is the tin can that it comes in. So I also host a show, Story Species, Story Medicine. And Story Species, Story Medicine, that's for published authors to share their medicine. So things that have to do with esoteric literature, spiritual experiences, that kind of stuff. Super soldier programs. Because I know when I was a kid, this was before the internet, right? But I really would have benefited from shows like so anyways, those of you who are just tuning in, the last Friday of the month, that's when I go live Dreaming with Gemstone Gina. And I'm looking for an executive committee actually to help me out. So if you're interested in being on the executive, it's a great opportunity. Check out my Buy Me a Coffee. Today I put a last call out. So I don't want to be annoying and keep asking. So today's the last call out. And we meet, I believe it's the first Friday of February. So definitely check those dates, okay? All right. So now what I'm going to do is I want to just tilt this down and show you my gemstones. And I'll just show you them quickly. Some of them I found at the beach. Some of them I've added since then. This one I always have a laugh because I bought it online and it was advertised as a clear crystal quartz, and it's just a cheap plastic. I did a special ceremony welcoming, and I don't know why, but I was like, I need to put these right through the fire, and I did. And then when I put this one through the fire, it immediately started like melting and burning like black tarry smoke. So let me know if you can relate in the comments. Um, let me just tilt it here. So these are my gemstones. And some of them were gifted to me. Some of them I found at the beach. And then some of them, like I said, I ordered online. But most of them come from the beach, from the Gnome King. So what I do is I make a circle. And then depending on where things land, depending on how wide it is, narrow it is, if my hand's going right, left, how fast my hand's going, I get all this information. And if you would like to learn how to do a gemstone reading, one of my own one-of-a-kind creations, I hope to offer it in the spring. I don't know the reality. It just kind of depends on the time that I have, but I will be offering the course. And it's going to come with a workbook, and I can't wait. This is just phenomenal. So if you get a gemstone reading with me, that's what I do. All of these are always present. If I feel like I need to add a new one randomly, then I will, but they just are what they are. This one here in particular, this is a tiger's eye. And what I do is I switch these up. So if you've been following me, sometimes I use the obsidian, sometimes I use the clear crystal quartz. I've got a few others. One of my favorites is just a classic rock that I found. So I change it as I feel I need to. There's different reasons why. Sometimes I don't even know the reason and just feel like I need to use it. And I'm feeling a connection with the Star Nations, and for me, that's what this tiger eye is representative of. So what I do, like I said, is I do a gemstone reading. I tell you everything that it means. And then I pull a card, one card from the Dragon Dreams Oracle. It's always at random. And then I put it in the middle like that. And whatever card I pull always reinforces everything that I just said. And if it doesn't, that means it serves as a blind spot. It's like, beware of whatever it is um, that I was saying. So, um, or it just tells you, like, keep this in mind, right? Keep it in mind, um, which is really powerful. And when I do live readings, I don't just put the card off to the side, I put it back in the pile, because when I do a mini gemstone reading, I don't go into great detail about the card. The focus is on the gemstone reading, and then it's complemented by the Dragon Dreams Oracle. So um, it's interesting from person to person who may or may not get the same um, card. And then um, the repeat cards, right? There's one in here that has a yellow butterfly on it, and that one is really popular. It hasn't been coming up a lot lately, but it's definitely a popular one. And I just find it interesting for myself what is presenting more and more. Those of you who do tarot and oracle readings, I'm sure you can relate. From day to day, there's like a common theme. From month to month, there's seems to be a common theme, and sometimes, depending if you're working with different groups of people, the various groups of people tend to have certain themes. And so I feel really good. And I initially, like, I did this for me, right? I just did this for me as part of my own um, healing process. And then I was living in British Columbia at the time, and there was this man. I went to Mill Lake in Abbotsford. It's one of my favorite places to walk. And there was a man that had a sign. He was sitting at a picnic table, and the sign said, "Need a prayer?" And so people would randomly sit with him, and they would pray and talk about whatever it is they're talking about. And I thought, I want to do that, but with my gemstone reading. And at the time, the weather was kind of weird. Um, so it didn't work out. But then I thought, you know what, stranger danger. I just felt too vulnerable. I didn't know the hows at the time to do that. And when I started telling people about it, I found it was just too much explaining, and it took the joy away. And people, I also found, because honestly, straight up, any kind of tarot oracle, including my own, is the lowest form of divination, right? Let's be real. It's the lowest form of divination. So um, there's a lot of stigmas to that as well, because what was happening to me is I genuinely wanted to, share something cool that I was doing. And if it could help benefit somebody, that's what mattered. But a lot of people, they weren't interested in healing. They were just interested in fantasy. Who am I going to fall in love with? How much money am I going to make? And I'm like, actually, the Dragon Dreams Oracle can be quite foreboding. And there's a consistent theme of believing in yourself and having harmony, facing your shadows, befriending your shadows, because they're you and you're them. The good guy and the bad guy, they're the same guy. And so some of the cards, you might think these cards kind of sound the same, and they do, but they have a specific focus, each one of them. And in truth, it was very challenging for me to create this booklet. I almost didn't create a booklet, but basically these books, 8 books, go with this. So how do you can't just put this in a shoebox and market it, right? This is something that is integral, that you integrate into your life, integrate into your lifestyle. And let me know if you can relate in the comments if you've ever created your own tarot or oracle deck. This is my first time ever. And um, like I said, it was very challenging. Like, how big is this book going to get, right? And what's one or two paragraphs that I can really say about one card when each card I sat down in the summertime of 2025 because I'm like, this is it. I got to do this, right? So I sat down. I didn't want anybody to have their name on it. I wanted it to be my name only. And so what I did is I sat down on Zoom and I recorded myself talking about each card. And who was the audience? My spirit guides. So it was a private conversation. And I'm like, this is Oracle card number 10, and it means this. And I talked for seriously like 45 minutes, an hour. And then Zoom gave me the transcript, and I was able to work with that. And that's how I got this. And so I like the style because this one here, Dragon Dreams Oracle number 56, it says like Gina explored the concept. I like how that sounds. I'm just flipping through here. I'm on the spot. I can't. Oh yeah, here's another one. Dragon Dreams Oracle 36. The discussion. So I like how I took my information. The AI summarizer helped me to condense it while honoring my own words. And that was really powerful to me because that's basically what I did to write my books, except I didn't have Zoom set up at that time. So um, at that time, like I said, I was speaking into the microphone, into a Microsoft Word document. But now with Zoom, like, oh, what a relief, right? To really get this moving faster. And not using Chat GPT. This is my own, right? And anyways, it's really special to me, and I look forward to the day where I'm, you know, on my cell phone, lying in bed and scrolling through Facebook or whatever, and YouTube, and what? Somebody's using the Dragon Dreams Oracle? Like, I can't wait for that. So, like I said, the books they've been available on Amazon for some time. The first four I published 2024. The last four I published 2025 back in the fall. So those have been on Amazon for some time, and you can get them on Kindle as well. On my YouTube channel, you can find a playlist, an entire playlist, absolutely free to you, of me reading directly from the Dragon Dreams Oracle. And you know what? If you can't fall asleep at night, or maybe you're doing some homework and you just want something playing in the background, maybe you're having a campfire, I highly, highly, highly recommend it, because my stories, they're not like, I mean, they're about me, right? I'm the main character. I'm the hero in the hero's journey. They're very much about you. And this year I'm going to be making movies. And last year I attempted. There was so much negativity about it. People I don't even know slamming me, telling me things like, who's going to help you? And why would somebody help you when they can just make their own movie? Or why would somebody donate money to you when they can keep their money? And it's like, why don't you go and fuck yourself? Like, why are you insisting that I give a fuck about your opinion about me? Like, my opinion of myself is the only opinion about me that I care about, and I'm the one who gets to have that opinion. And so it's just like really being in right relationship has never been such a powerful thing for me, because I didn't realize how not in right relationship I was in the past, because I was in survival mode. So let me bring this back down. I'm not going to be on here too much longer. Those of you who are tuning in, I'm just having some fun here, hanging out with you live, talking about my gemstones. I'll be going live the last Friday of the month. I've got Alex Lipton posting for me, and I've got Julia Anchorhaven as a monitor, and I am feeling the luxury. So this one here represents Toby, the tree of life. Also could be the tree of knowledge. And Toby, there's much to be said about him. And you can read all about him in the Dragon Dreams um, books. And it's possible I'm going to create another oracle of just the archetypes, one thing at a time, right? Like I mentioned, this one here, I change it, and it always represents the heart. This one here represents the mental plane. I've got another white one here. This one here. Oh, can you see those? Sorry. This one is the mental plane. This one here represents the divine feminine, and it represents the golden dragons. I read a great book, the Sophia Code, and was it Kyra Ra? I learned all about Sophia and beautiful stories. And at that time in my life, um, the feminine goddesses and this business of Christ Sophia, that was interesting to me, and it just seemed to be appropriate at that time. This spoke to me and was like, that's who I want to represent. Okay, then. So this represents the divine feminine, um, and it's alluding to the golden dragons. This one here represents eagle condor. This one here, there's a little W shape on there. I don't know if you can see it, but this one here represents squid folk. This one here, there's a crescent shaped moon on there, shape. I don't know if you can see it or not, but this one represents the wise and well whale and orca elders. So this one here didn't talk to me for a long time. And this one here, it was one of the first to identify, but I didn't know what it was. It was just talking to me, and I knew that it was like maternal. I was thinking elephants, to be honest. But then one day it was like, where did this come from? And that's the thing, like these are gemstones, right? Like they smash up against each other and they're always alchemizing and changing. So I honestly don't even know if it was there when I first found it, but it just hit me, and I thought, oh my God, like whales, orcas, they have crescent moon shapes for their pupil. And squid and octopi folk, they have W shapes. And that W shape is connected to that W-shaped constellation that I always forget the name of. Never been a memory recall person, which is really coming in handy these days because with controlled remote viewing and doing this gemstone reading, I'm moving away from nouns. I'm moving away from categories, but I do recognize that we need a common language, right? These three represent, I'll put it down again so you can see, these three represent three sisters. So there's a lot of talk, like the goddess Bridget. She's like has like three faces, if you will, like a triangle face, and each, like a triangle shape, excuse me, and each face is a different face. Each side is a face. There's also the Morrigan and this business of three sisters. And my sister actually gave me these. And so I was like, wait a minute, that was the synchronicity and connection. There was sister language going on. I was having interesting dreams where I would break into three people. And then the fact that these came from my sister, I'm like, okay, this is like sister energy, the Morrigan, and I'll put them down again so you can see there's a really light one, and then there's a medium one, and then there's a dark one. So the dark one is like the lower level, right? Not lower level, I shouldn't say that, but it's the underworld, like Huascar and Cocopelli and the Morrigan, those gatekeepers. This one is the middle world. That's your um, I'm having a brain fart. Quetzalcoatl, right? And then this top one here, I don't remember in this moment, but this is the upper world where it's energetic. So depending on how these fall means different things. And um, let me know in the comments how you relate. As I mentioned earlier, these ones represent Polaris. Polaris is a big white ram with big black baby doe eyes, and he has purple horns, which is interesting because as part of my learning, I learned about some literature and stories that were shared where outer worldly cows with that were typically white were gifted to this planet because the people on this planet were starving and dying. And so folks from the Star Nations gifted us cows, and those cows are not from here, and those cows have red horns. And so I got really excited, and I asked everybody, like what about the the cows with purple horns, bulls, bison? Like, I don't want to get stuck on cow language here or bull language, but like a big ram. So if anybody out there has ever heard of some kind of four-legged folk with hooves that has purple horns in particular, let me know. That's Polaris. And how do I know all this? Well, initially I didn't, but I was having interesting dreams, and I just felt compelled to put them in. I had plants on my patio, and I put them in the soil because I don't know why. I just felt like they needed to dream. They were stressed out not being in the sand anymore at the beach, and I was like, put them in the soil, put them in the soil. And then that dark soil somehow connected with my dark subconscious mind. And then I was seriously, like, over the course of a few weeks, getting information, not getting information. And then I was like, it was getting communicated to me. This one's going to represent these. This is going to represent this. Right. I also learned some lessons. It's not a good idea to bury your stuff in soil. Sand is better, or rice, because I had some Miracle Grow mixed in there, and it actually it ate up some of my gemstones. I had some short crystals in there as well. I put other stuff at that time in the soil, and just also the dewiness ate away, and so just a little mindfulness about that kind of stuff. But anyways, this one here represents Jaguar. This one has not presented itself yet. So I'm interested when and what it's going to mean. This one has not. This one has not. And this one has not. These ones are some of the first ones that I found at the beach. And so it's like, who are you? And I'm wondering um, what they're going to present. And when I first got the gemstones, I thought, well, why are there gemstones in here that don't even, tell me who they are? And then I realized, well, if I'm going to be making a circle, I need more gemstones in there just for the sake of having a circle, right? And so it is symbolic to me because in life, in the hero's journey, you respond to the call, you take the journey, and you meet people along the way that help to redirect you. So that's just um, something that is to come. So I don't overthink it, and I'm wondering if anybody out there can relate to what I'm saying. So this one here is a little bit funny. When I first got it, it was not chipped like that. So, like I said, these gemstones, I don't keep them in bubble wrap. I actually keep them in a sock that I have, um, just to keep them together so I don't lose them. and they get scratched and chipped, right? And this one day just broke right off. And in that moment, it identified itself. So the part that broke off was the child. And that's why this part here represents the family. And the child initially I thought went missing or ran away. And then I realized that the child went off on their own to start a whole new adventure, just like, like wolves and elephants. Those are matriarchal communities. And so the girls are in charge, the females. But at some point, the male, they need to go, right, and join another community. Um, so there's much to be said about that, but I feel like the little part that I lost was in a positive way was that. And so this gemstone here, that chipped off of, I don't even know what. I have no idea where it came from, which is also kind of, magical. It could have come from this one. I really don't know. Really don't know. But anyways, I thought this is going to be the new child. So you've got the child you, and then you've got the family. And this child you could be like you when you were literally a child, but it could also mean um like me, for example, I'm 44, so I'm not a child, right? But from my parents' perspective, I'm a child. It doesn't matter how old I am. So depending on what's going on with the gemstone reading will depend on what information I share. This business of your family, this could be your literal biological family. It could be your work family, your school community. It doesn't have to be family. It could be a community, like a group of peers. Um, Colleagues that you work with, but it's not just a random group. It's like there's some kind of closeness there, some kind of mentorship, and sometimes there's sensation feelings of um, like overshadowing you, when you don't need to be overshadowed. Um, Sometimes this means like your Star Nation family, and sometimes, depending on how the gemstone reading goes, this could mean like immature and mature. So it could just mean like child you, adult you. Like I said, I'd like to offer a course on how to do your own mini gemstone reading and how you can actually understand how to do mine, and all the power to you. Use it. This one represents Manus. He's in charge of helping you write your stories. This one represents Snake. This one is Hummingbird. This one here recently identified as the inner mermaid, right? And as soon as it identified, I was like, how did I, like, that's all I see now. How did I not make that connection? Because this here, this shape is like an eye, right? And she's always like with you, watching you. So it could be the left eye, it could be the right eye. So that has meaning in itself. And then I'll put it back down here. This here also the mermaid's tail, right? So it's like, how did I not see that? It could also be a face, right? There's always lots. Once you start giving things meaning, really, there's too much meaning. And that's exactly what happened with my 8 books and the 91 deck Dragon Dreams Oracle and this gemstone reading. There's just too much meaning. And that's why I need to create a movie, because I got to summarize this all in a way that's visual. And for what it's worth, movies are great, but the book is always better. So go on Amazon and make sure you purchase one of my books. Let me know which one is your favorite. You can read the summaries. And um, like I said, I'll be sure to let you know as soon as the Dragon Dreams Oracle is ready for folks out there to purchase. I can't wait. Let me just show you the final gemstones. Dum, 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 dum. This one here represents The dragon, it also represents your physical plane. So there's some double meaning there. And what's interesting when I do gemstone readings live, um, that's one thing. But when I do gemstone readings in person, people who don't know like anything about what I'm talking about, or they never heard of me and my gemstones, they tend to ask about this one, and I let them hold it, and they just seem to like give it a hand hug. And when I tell them like this represents the inner dragon, they just, I don't know what it means to them, but it bears meaning, and that means a lot to me. It bears meaning to me that it bears meaning to them. And this also reminds me of a tooth. The first thing I thought of when I found this, I was like, is this kind of like dragon tooth or dragon nail claw, like, or maybe like a beak? Uh, Definitely there's a dragon energy in there. It's nice and smooth. And let me put it back down for you. This one here represents the committee of the ones who listen. So they're always listening. Like if you're bitching and complaining, they're not, listening to you. But when you like are saying your prayers, they're listening. Every day when you're just at work and whatever, they're listening. So they're like your witnesses. And some folks out there believe there's an archangel named Castiel, and that's what he does. He listens, he witnesses. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I don't really care, but I like to believe that there is some kind of sacred witness out there. And in my book series, The Dragon Dreams Oracle, like I said, all this content goes together. There's the committee, like all of your senses: sight, smell, touch, sound, taste, and your emotional sense. That's your sixth sense that a lot of folks don't acknowledge. And then you have a seventh sense that Lynn Buchanan talks about, and that's your psychic sense. So these folk just focus on the listening part, but they work with other committees. So these committees meet and talk about like how to best represent the information that they're gathering on you, um, and to um, like to me, this is very important because there's manipulation going on. And like I said, there's so much to say, but in my book series, I like, why am I on this planet Earth? Like, my mission is actually doing an investigation, investigating this business of contracts, because what I've learned is you're actually not bound to any contract. Even if you wanted to be, you are not bound to anything. So nobody can tell you, oh, you signed this contract, you made this agreement, fuck you. Okay? So it's one thing to commit to something, and like you want to commit when you commit to something, but when you're being manipulated and when you're presented with two shitty choices, those are not choices, right? And it's this committee of the ones who listen that when you die and you're going over your Akashic record, or when you're saying your prayers and there's fuckery going on, this is the committee that goes, wait a minute, this is the information that happened, because they have the record. So that's very powerful. Very, very powerful. And if you make changes in your Akashic record, like it all works out, right? It's very interesting. So, and the thing too is like part of the movies that I'm making involves things like me coming online and doing this, connecting with you. It involves, like I was telling Alex behind the scenes, Alex Lipton, I was like, you and I having this conversation is part of it. And Julia Anchorhaven being the Dragon Dreams monitor, like us connecting behind the scenes about that, that's part of the movie too. So you tuning in live and the last Friday of the month, getting a mini gemstone reading from yours truly, Gina Virginia Casella, by donation to fundraise the movie, um, is a phenomenal opportunity, and that's all part of the movie. And something that I forgot to mention earlier, which is like super significant, is the priority is kicking off the movie, because a year ago when I started this, it seriously cost a few $100s for a few minutes, and I really wasn't satisfied with the little, clip that I had, which it wasn't even a clip, to be honest. Um, so I feel like because it's been a year, AI is always improving. People out there have skills, so it's going to be phenomenal experience. And once that gets going, I would really like to host a conference in person. So there's going to be 5 conferences a year. There's going to be one for both solstices, both equinoxes, so summer. So it's going to start in the spring, summer, fall, and winter. Those are going to be online, but the summertime is going to be bonus, and I'm going to need money to help rent spaces and stuff like that. I'd really like to rent a bus to pick up and drop people off at the airport, take us out for dinner so that we all stay together. I feel like that's my biggest concern right now. And you know what? If that's my biggest concern, that's a very good concern. That's my kind of problem. I like that. It's just a matter of getting the money together. And you know what? I'm not worried about the money, because when you bring folks together who are passionate, who are passion driven, anything is possible. So I know there's a lot of dragon dreamers out there who are really like, stuck for money. And that's the beauty about tuning in the last Friday of each month, Dreaming with Gemstone Gina monthly marathon, because you can get a mini gemstone reading for an extremely affordable rate, right? And those of you who are in a position to give generously, please do. There's a lot of dragon dreamers out there who have lots and lots of money, and it's actually a burden for them. And on that note, if you wanted to message me privately and pick up the tab for a dragon dreamer in much need of my services, they're going to require 3 months to 24 months, because the mind can only handle one presenting problem at a time. If you would like to hand that over to me, then that would be very helpful, because there's countless folks out there who are constantly asking me for free services, and I say no now. There has to be an exchange. And actually, something I learned during my shamanic training, I've got 4 more gemstones here to show you. In the past, if you've seen me online, sometimes I was collecting money, but I personally never collected any money. It was an exchange that the host kept, because I got to be promoted. And for what it's worth, it wasn't a lot of money anyways. And so I saw that as a fair energy exchange. And in the past, I've also provided countless free gemstone readings and oracle in exchange for me getting promoted, right? But the thing is, it was reinforced to me that there needs to be a payment, like an actual money payment or some kind of token. And something like making me dinner, that can count, but it needs to be like that day making me dinner. So that's another reason why I'm starting to push the money energy exchange, because it's that money energy exchange that honors the oracle. That's the payment. Now, if you're local and you want to make me dinner, I'm willing to take that as a payment, okay? And other forms of payment. I love gardening and that kind of stuff. If you wanted to pay me and that kind of stuff, like, I'm open, right? But for Dreaming with Gemstone Gina, I feel like the money energy exchange is where it's at, because the MONEY is going to be transforming all of these books into a movie series. I'd like to have 9 movies, and then the 10th movie, because 10 is representative of the number 1, that's going to be the movie where it's like your stories are now in the movies too. And so it's really important. The first 9 movies, these aren't meant to be big blockbusters, by the way. This is just kind of like a community thing. It's for us, right? of course, in my book series, I make millions of dollars and these books become very popular. And in my book series, it's predicted that somebody out there makes a ballet. So if that's you, I want a ticket, okay? Let me show you the rest of these gemstones here. This one represents sea turtle energy, or sea turtles. This one is the dog monkey folk. And this is really special. When I found it, I wrote the word how, because at this time, I was really challenging the who, what, when, where, why, how. And my understanding was the how, that was the masculine. And I was calling to dogs, if you will. I was working with dog energy, like bloodhound energy and catfish energy. And I was like, I want you to smell me and find me. This is my scent. And I need support with the how, the masculine. And then I found this heart-shaped rock at the beach. And before I realized it was a heart shape, I actually thought just for a moment that it reminded me of a paw print. And then I thought spade and heart shape, and it all came together. It's from the dog monkey folk. And then these other two, oh, this one I forgot to mention. This one has not presented itself. It was cracked like this when I found it. And then this one here represents the masculines, like this one over here I showed you earlier. Where did it go? The Sophia one. This one represents the masculine feminine, the masculine feminines. This one represents the feminine goddesses, and this one here represents the masculines, not goddesses. They could be gods, but it's intended to be like the chivalrous warrior, like more people, human form. And it's not like representative of patriarchy at all. It's the chivalrous, the luminous warrior. That's who these folks are. These are the folks that are like, put your guns down, right? I'm noticing one of the gemstones is missing. I have a gemstone. It's kind of green and brown, and it represents the warrior goddesses. And just give me a moment to see if it's just over here. Maybe I left it. Hi, Rosie. Like good. Oh, Rosie's just sleeping there. I think it's on this side here. Okay, I don't know where the warrior goddesses went. So, sometimes that happens. There's a gemstone that goes missing. I usually find it. I have a box here. I'll just leave it there. It's got like leaves and twigs and flowers from the summer that I found. And every now and then I put my gemstones in there and other spiritual tools just to like sleep and rest and do their own dreaming. So I wouldn't be surprised if the goddesses are in there. And if they're not in there, that's part of my gemstone reading too, just like the child I was talking about earlier. If they're not in there, then I accept that it's not intended anymore. Whatever messages they have for me, their role is now fulfilled. Just like I was talking about earlier on the hero's journey, you meet other people. Well, it's possible that I'm past that now, which would be a really great thing now that I think about it in this moment, because I am feeling that quantum leap. And that gemstone, if you watch other videos of me, it's a green color with brown. It's kind of like this shape here, like snake, but it's more rectangular. And that gemstone was always like one of those gemstones that I noticed, and the fact that it's not here, maybe it's representative that all that hell that I was going through and emotional turmoil is over. Like, not that my life is perfect, but the intensity now, like the warrior goddess, I don't need her as much as I did, you know? So I wonder if that's what's going on. And these gemstones are about all of us. So I guess that means that applies to you as well. So that's all I have to say. I wanted to come on here today to say hi to you, to promote Dreaming with Gemstone Gina, the last Friday of the month. I wanted to show you my books. Super pumped up about the Dragon Dreams Oracle, and just letting you know some insight about what the gemstones mean. There's always so much to say about the gemstones. Like I said, it's possible I'm going to create a second oracle just on all the archetypes and the gemstones. Um, so let me know your thoughts. There was options. This is my first time creating a deck, but there were options. This tin can, I didn't have to get the tin, but I thought, like, you know, I myself, I've got tarot and oracle, and they come in this box, and then you take it in and out, and then before you know it, the box on the side starts ripping, or so I thought, I want a tin, and I also wanted in a tin because I like to go outside in nature. Now, these cards, I forget what they're called. They're better for the environment. So seemingly they're a poorer quality, but they're better for the environment. And um, the colors are supposed to be like blurred and on the dark side. And it's really cool because if you put light behind it, it brightens the card. And so in the morning when I'm doing my spirit work and I'm reading this, sometimes I can't really see the picture clearly or the words, and that's intended. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, like, because the words are golden, they really shine. You know, in the Lord of the Rings, when they throw the ring in the fire and then they take it out, and they look to see if the words are glowing. That's what it reminds me of. And it wasn't intended. It just kind of happened. I just thought these are more environmentally friendly than the other options. And so um, that's why I chose them. But anyways, I thought, if other dragon dreamers like yourselves were interested in purchasing the Dragon Dreams Oracle, that, you know what, I want to be able to put this in my backpack or whatever and not worry about the cards getting ruined. And so there's a better chance that, they'll survive longer because of this tin box. And I also thought to myself, a lot of folks out there who have tarot and oracle, they like to make their own bags, or they'll like have a special scarf or cloth that they'll wrap their materials in. So I thought, if you wanted to do that and then keep this to put candles, matches in, or whatever, maybe a pen and some paper, let me know. I just thought this was the coolest thing. And inside, I threw mine in the recycling, but the inside actually came with like a white piece of cardboard with two sides, one here, and then there was a part that stuck up in the middle. And I just personally thought it was getting in the way. So I put it in the recycling bin, and everything fits in here just fine. I'll put it down so you can see, but everything fits fine, just like that, right? And then you can even just like that, and it's fine. So I'm really excited, and I'm wondering, like, when people get their own own copy of the Dragon Dreams Oracle, what you're going to do, how you're going to set it up, how are you going to welcome your Dragon Dreams Oracle. Just yesterday on my Buy Me a Coffee, you can find my videos on YouTube as well. I posted a video of me welcoming my books in the Oracle. I mean, when I got my books, I welcomed them, the first four, and then I welcomed the last four. But I wanted, every time, like, I add to my collection, if you will, it's a collection now. I bring them all together because they all belong together, right? So, those of you who are just tuning in, I'm actually going to be saying goodbye to you in just a moment. But in case you were wondering about these blank cards, the Dragon Dreams Oracle, I received an email this morning telling me they weren't approved because of these blank cards. And so it's not a big deal. What happened was the publisher, these cards I intentionally left blank because I thought it would be cool if you drew a picture on them and created your own Dragon Dreams Oracle, mix it up in here, or maybe there's 9 of them. I thought 9 was a significant number. Maybe you want to have your own special set and or trade amongst yourselves, or maybe you want to use this as a bookmark. Don't know, don't care. So I left it blank, but then the publisher let me know that that was interpreted as incomplete. So what I did this morning on Canva is I put like a gold square on the top, a gold square on the bottom, and then there's a square in the middle that's like a whitish color for you to do that. So I'm hopeful by tomorrow morning I'll get another email saying, all right, this time your Oracle deck is published. So, and I wanted to tell you something funny too. It's a good thing I read these over because one of the cards I didn't even publish. I published the same card 2 times. So I have this. Order the Dragon Dreams Oracle. Don't worry, you won't have this card. It's about symbiotic relationships. It's the one where there's a picture of like a forest scene, and there's footprints, and there's a deer walking, and there's 3 wolves following the tracks. But really, the wolves aren't following the tracks. The wolves are following the sound of the crows, because the crows are like, over here, wolves, there's a deer. And anyways, that's the card that I'm talking about. So I just thought it was funny. So when I'm going live, I'm wondering who's going to get this one. Uh, and at some point, I'm going to order myself a new set. But reduce, reuse, recycle. I don't need this one and another one, right? And I look forward to the day when I do order myself the other one, the updated one. It's still going to say unedited on it, but it's an updated version of this. And I'm just brain farting it out now. I think I've been on here a little bit too long. Today was a big day. The last few days were really big days, finishing all of this and all the planning that I did for the conference. I hammered all of that out. The past week actually is a bit of a blur. I was a bit confused yesterday, Monday, Tuesday, and today. I was a bit confused what day it was. It was one of those kind of days. So, so yeah, I'm really excited to get that's what I was going to say. When I get the updated version of the Dragon Dreams Oracle, I very much look forward to giving these away, like signing my name on one with a special message, or just giving it to you. Or maybe, if you did a blank card, maybe you wanted to give it to me and I gift you one of these here. So, and I wanted to mention too, some of these have spelling errors. I updated them, but when I'm live, if you notice like a spelling error, I updated it. So it's going to be funny. And these are really mixed up now. Some are upside down. I'm very curious. It was definitely an accomplishment. And I'm wondering if anybody else out there can relate. I really wanted to publish this the summer of 2024. I strive to publish it 2025, but it gave birth to 4 more books. And then, like I said, the summer, no, I wanted to publish them 2023, but that didn't happen. And then, yeah, 2024, the books came. And then the summer of 2025, I was like, I gotta do this. And I was really striving to have this available by the fall. And then it worked out because I published it um, December 22nd. And December 21st is the winter solstice. That's when the season of dreams begins. And how fitting is that, right? And honestly, I thought, okay, I'm going to publish it on the 21st. So it's right on the day of the season of dreams. And I was initially disappointed that it was on the 22nd and not the 21st. And after my own reflection, I thought, no, 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 that was very, very much intended, because publishing on the 21st, it would have been cool because it would have been that in between world still, where it was still kind of fall, still just starting to be season of dreams winter. But the timestamp of the 22nd was like, we're in this matrix. We're not in any between fall world. We're in the winter season. This is dreams, not fall. So I thought that was cool. So let me know if you've ever published any books. I did mine on KDP Publishing, which translates into Amazon, Kindle Direct Publishing. That was very confusing when I first started publishing. So you do it on Kindle Direct Publishing, KDP, and then through KDP, they link you with Amazon, right? So if you go to Amazon, you can buy my books. There's 8 of them. Let me know which one is your favorite. And please remember to check out my YouTube channel, because there's a playlist of me reading straight from the Dragon Dreams Oracle. And one of my favorite ones to listen to are about the Purple King. And I love all the special messages that I receive. So you can get that on Amazon. In this moment, I forget the name of the publisher that I went to for the Oracle, but I will let you know that information for sure. Fingers crossed, tomorrow morning, I'll be putting a post out on my Buy Me a Coffee, so you can get your own copy. And remember, the updated copy, uh, it doesn't have those spelling mistakes, and that card that I had 2 of, it's in there. So it's really, really special. And oh, I was going to show you too. I knew I was forgetting something. So let me just this here. So I need to also update my merchandise. I've got merchandise as well, t-shirts, towels. And this here, I'll just show you, is a towel that I have. It's of the lizard lady. And so even my merchandise, what is going on here? There we go. Even my merchandise, I'll show you from the top. It says the Dragon Dream Soul Tribe. There's no head, it's a neck. But this is one of the oracle cards. And then on the bottom, it's my name, Gina Virginia Casella. And these towels, honestly, I don't like that it's white on the one side. And I found, you know what, like, I really don't make any money from these. It costs a lot of money just to print them. And so I don't know what I'm going to do. Let me know in the comments if you have any ideas. But like, all of this goes together, and it's really special because the towels have become like my mesas. So I have an orange towel with Lucky on it, and he's my official mesa for my shamanic work. And whenever I do gemstone readings, I use this one with the lizard lady, because all of the eyeballs and the perspective and just like divine feminine type connections, and connection to the water, mothers of the water, sisters of the waters, those kind of themes. There's always lots to say. And then I have a purple one that has a picture of this on it. And when I'm doing my controlled remote viewing, I wrap my stuff up in that towel. So the towels are now playing a role. Like, I don't even use the towels as an actual towel. I use it as something to wrap something special in, or like an altar to do something special on. And so it's really cool how, like I said, all of this goes together, right? And to me, this is the future. This is the ancient future. And when I think about folks like the plant people, the stone people, those are the folks that I'm in connection with, because the Dragon Dreams Oracle, this business of rocks and gemstones, that's all where the information is coming from. And you know what? Like when I was a kid, I wouldn't be able to handle this kind of stuff. It was too scary. And that troubles me, right? This kind of stuff shouldn't be scary. Why was it scary? Because it was unfamiliar. I grew up Roman Catholic, so that was the world that made sense to me. And even now, like, my parents, they're very supportive, but they're not into this kind of stuff. And you know, my dad, the other day, he was like, Gina, there's a such thing as doing too much drugs. And I'm like, Dad, I just, you know, forgive them for they do not know. And that's where we're at. We just laugh it off. Forgive them for they do not know, forgive them for they do not know. So let me know if your family is like that. I'm really fortunate. When I was a kid, it was a different story. It was very hush hush. Don't talk like that. Um, I don't even, my parents don't even really seem to remember. I mean, I'm open about it with the public, but it's not something I talk about with my family. I was in grade 2 and those angels coming out of my wall, because it's just spiritual experiences. Respectfully, they have their own mindset, and that's okay. And I'm really fortunate because I can still speak freely about it. I know there's a lot of other families, even in the adult years, it's a big no no. You're not allowed to independently think. So that's another reason why community is so important. And having a community like the Dragon Dream Soul Tribe Collective is paramount for all of these reasons. It's all part of the social emotional. So thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Gina Virginia Casella. Um, Everything that I'm doing right now is basically volunteer. So I'd really appreciate your support joining the Dragon Dreams Executive Committee to help me manifest the movie series and conference. They all go together. And I would also appreciate your support the last Friday of the month, Dreaming with Gemstone Gina. You can make a donation. The bigger the better, because it's going to go towards costs like the AI. And I'm looking forward to having special movie nights and something that I'm really pushing for. I mean, I work with pole energy, but on the biological level of snakes, sometimes we got to push, right? Because time is a factor. It's not an illusion for snakes, the literal level of cells, atoms, and chemicals. But I want to push for the movie release to be um, synonymous in sync with the conference. So at the conference, it's like we get together and watch the movie as well, right? So there's always much to say. I do offer paid services as well. I'm a transformational healer, specializing in RTT, with the transformation therapy, hypnotherapy. And I also recently graduated from the Four Winds. I'm an energy medicine practitioner. So if you have a false inhibiting belief, make sure you come and see me. Do not beat yourself up. And for what it's worth, if you're a life coach or some kind of, fitness trainer, you can tell when you have a client that's not putting in the effort versus someone who is, right? And for what it's worth, for somebody who's putting in the effort and not getting results, that's really bad business for you, right? So what are they going to do? They're going to stop going to see you because they're not getting results. But the thing is, if you have a conversation with them and you tell them that, maybe you weren't aware, but now you are after listening to me about false inhibiting beliefs. Because if you tell your client, you know what, like I've been working with you and I know that you've been working hard on your dieting and doing your training and I'm right there counting your push-ups and you're not getting results and you should be. And after listening to, this girl talk, Gina Virginia Casella, you have a false inhibiting belief. And until you take care of that, you will not get results. So what I'm trying to say is instead of your client not getting results and then, that's bad business and then they leave you and they tell people, well, don't go and see them. They don't get results with them. Well, really all that time they had false inhibiting belief. They're not going to get results. It doesn't matter who the hell they see, right? But they don't even know that. So if you are a coach or a personal trainer, whatever title you have, and you from the get-go tell your clients, look, I believe in you, I'm going to help you, you want to lose weight, you want to build muscle, you want to do whatever it is that you're helping them with, manage their time, you can do that. But if you, the coach, notice that they're stagnant, then you, the coach, are going to have the confidence, conviction to tell them, you know what, you have a mind reprogramming issue right now. That would be very powerful, very, very powerful, instead of your client just, beating themselves up because they're not getting results. And then now you've lost a client and, it's bad for business. So anyways, I always have lots to say. And thank you so much for tuning in. My outro video here highlights services that I offer. So anchor yourself in your own conviction. You are the master scribe of your story. That is your birthright to edit and make changes. Nobody can write your story like you can. It is your story to write. And you know what? You're allowed to make mistakes, right? And when you live consciously, then you make mistakes consciously. So what does that mean? It means that when you're living consciously and you fall down, you don't fall down as hard, right? And when you get up, it's a lot easier to get up. So living consciously means proactively engaging in your spirit work, proactively engaging in your alchemy, your dream journaling, the dragon dreams. So on that note, before I forget, I also have a Facebook group. It's free, the Dragon Dreams Soul Tribe Collective. There's my Buy Me a Coffee as well. I would love for you to make comments. Buy Me a Coffee is great because then you default to getting the emails. Facebook is great because you can engage with other members. And I would absolutely love and adore for you to post pictures of your dream journals, or maybe you're doing something interesting with your spiritual autonomy. I've been carving into candles for years, but recently I've started to smudge my incense in there. You know, the ashes from your incense? The candles really don't burn well when you do that, but it looks really cool, So I would love to see pictures of that. And for what it's worth, there's more than 400 members. Not a lot of folks are sharing. And you know what? It just starts with somebody sharing, and you could be that person. There's also 2 events. There's the event for Dreaming with Gemstone Gina monthly marathon, and then there's the event for okay, there's been the event for the conference series as well. So I know a lot of people don't have Facebook, so Buy Me a Coffee is good for that. And those of you who, I guess Rosie likes this book. She just knocked it over. An Elephant's Anthem of Liberation. Now I want to tell you all about what this book is and that special moment where the elephant is free running with the uprooted tree in tow attached to the tethered rope. So she's sitting on my gemstones. Dreaming with Gemstone Rosie. It's rose quartz Rosie. And I guess I was going to log off like 15 minutes ago now. I guess it's time for me to log off officially. It's 5 p.m. here, Eastern time. I usually start, I like to eat dinner at like 3 or 4 o'clock, and then I like to go in bed. And I usually read, or I do some reflecting, nothing major, just light homework. I've got some books that I want to read. So you got to find the time, and I find that I sleep better. I need a lot of transition time. I'm like a little kid. I need to close the window, close the curtain, get the nightlight on. I think it's because I was a teacher for 20 years that like all those tips and tricks that I gave to my students and give to myself. And usually by like 6:30, I'm asleep. And then I wake up naturally around 2:30 in the morning, and then by 3, 4 o'clock I'm up. And by no means do I jump out of bed, but all those special videos that you find on my YouTube, that's usually when I'm doing that first thing in the morning. Rosie and we have a special time where wake up, I get the music going, I give Rosie her food and fresh water. Friday is her special treat day. I brush her. Do a gemstone reading for myself. And I've been really delighting on hopping on Buy Me a Coffee. Sometimes I pre-schedule the posts, but I feel excited. Like, what will I post tomorrow morning? I don't know. See you tomorrow morning. And every morning I'm like, what am I going to post? And then there I am posting stuff, right? So let me know how you can relate. And something funny I wanted to mention was the flora that I made recently. It was straight vinegar, right? But I ended up adding some water, and I added more lavender essential oil because it was just way too strong. It's non-alcoholic, and even now I still feel like, whoa, when I take a little. I don't even drink it, I just spritz with it. So I find that interesting too. Let me know how you relate in the comments, how your flora water is going. I prefer to use straight vodka, and I really like infusing it with basil. That's like my favorite. So, and again, it's not for drinking. It's basically to spit, to spritz on all of my tools. And so when you join me live for Dreaming with Gemstone Gina, you'll notice that something that I wasn't doing before. Um, Between every gemstone reading, I'll be spritzing my flora on them. So it's like nice and clean for the next person. So refining my own spiritual autonomy with guidance and mentorship that was provided to me. And the thing that I really appreciate about my spiritual autonomy is it's not a religion, right? It's something that beg, steal, borrow. That's what we call it in the teaching world. So you take another idea, you borrow it, you work with it, but at some point you make it your own, right? So I'm very much looking forward to folks um, getting a hold of my resources, making them your own, and really delighting to all the conversations I'm going to have. So, wow, I'm having a hard time letting you go today. You know what? It's just nice to hop on here and chit chat. So, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Gina Virginia Casella. You can learn all about me on my website, ginavirginiacasella.com. Sign up for my memberships on Buy Me a Coffee. And I would love if you joined my free Facebook group, the Dragon Dream Soul Tribe Collective. And I would absolutely adore if you registered for one of my memberships on Buy Me a Coffee. You really can change your thinking to change your life. So stop pissing your time and money away. Make the commitment and make the change, because you are worth it. You really are. You really matter. And I really mean that. You're intelligent. You're important. And I'm telling you, I've worked with clients who have waited 50, 60 years to hear that. So I want you to hear that. Okay? You matter. Yes, you. And I look forward to seeing you in the group. Your soul tribe awaits you. Take care. We'll talk to you next time. And Rosie's purring away here. I don't know if you can hear her. Okay. She says, have a good night.